solving an investment in our country. And joining us now, Republican Senator Tom Coburn of Oklahoma. Senator, it's a pleasure to have you back in the mix here.
Good to be with you, Dylan.
Your opinion of today's meeting?
Oh, I think it's a good first start. I think there was the report I got. There was a good communication. There were some frank discussions that aren't going to be talked about in the media, so that the things can actually get done. So I'm hopeful that that'll happen.
Right. You and I both know that this country right now is suffering from a lack of investment and trade policies that, while we claim they are free, in reality are too often rigged. Investment policies that, while we claim they're competitive, are too often don't encourage investment. Do you get any sense, beyond debating tax cuts or debating some deficit cutting, both of which are obviously on the table, whether there's going to be any real policy conversation about driving investment and job creation in this country?
Well, I think what you'll see come out of the Deficit Commission this week will be something. They've made an announcement that they're going to share that with everybody on the commission tomorrow. But from my understanding is I think you'll see Reagan tax readjustments on steroids coming out.
And that, while releasing the capital, you and I both know is tremendously beneficial, if the only incentive in this country is to take that money and either speculate with it in the banking system or take it to a foreign country, it doesn't do us a heck of an awful lot of good when it comes to our job creation, right?
You know, in that is the elimination of the territorial tax. So there's a lot of things coming. You know, what comes out of the commission versus what the Congress actually does are two different things. Dylan, the real point is we're not but a couple of years away from being Ireland or Greece. It is time for members of Congress to do what's in the best long-term interest of this country, which means all of us have to give up some of our sacred cows to do the best right thing. And my hope is that you're going to see us trying to do that.
If you look at the GOP over the past decade, what would be your harshest criticism of the GOP, of your own party, and how do you believe, as a current leader, you can repair that and drive towards what you see as the highest ideals of the GOP?
Well, I think probably that we need to be better long-term thinkers, and we need to embrace the Constitution more than what we've seen. We have not opposed things that we should have opposed, and we've proposed things that we shouldn't when you look at it in light of the Constitution. But I think overall, a lot of what's happened to the GOP had to do with President Bush and the wars. You know, my message hadn't changed, and the vast majority of Republicans' message hadn't changed. We've just been outvoted for the last 4 years.
I want to bring Ed Rendell into the conversation. The outgoing governor in Pennsylvania joins us from Philadelphia. Governor, I don't know how much you've heard from Senator Coburn, but I'll ask you the same question that I was just talking to Senator Coburn about. Biggest criticism of the Democratic Party's engagement over the past decade, and what you think can be done to alter its path.
In terms of what we've done, I think we've done a very, very poor job in explaining what's at stake for the future of this country. You know, I think were there mistakes made in the health care bill? Were there mistakes made in the stimulus bill? Absolutely. But they were sound things that are destined to help this country and help this country significantly. The CBO said on stimulus that we staved off a loss of 2 or 3 million additional jobs.
Let's stop there for a second, though, because the stimulus was announced as a creator of 4 million jobs. And a lot of us, myself included, knew we were in trouble when the headline went from creating 4 million jobs to creating and saving 4 million jobs. Because creating jobs is problem solving. Saving jobs is basically trying to perpetuate the incumbency. Now, and I'm not saying that wasn't necessary, that we weren't in a crisis. But I guess what I am saying is we've got multi-decade trade policies and investment policies that are sucking capital out of this country. And whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, both have ultimately failed to protect America from some of those variables.
Oh, there's no question. And President Bush didn't do it, and President Obama hasn't done it quite yet either. And that's to insist that the trade in this world, the trade that's going on, and I was a free trader, I supported all the free trade legislation, but that trade is enforced in a way that's fair to American companies. Right now, that's not being the case, and China is the worst offender, and we have got to get tough with China if we're going to preserve American manufacturing. And preserving American manufacturing is probably the single most important thing we can do when it comes to creating jobs in this country, and good, solid paying jobs. That and invest in our infrastructure, which is something we desperately need to do. Both sides of the aisle know we need to do it. We've got to sit down and find a way to repair and revitalize the American infrastructure and make us more competitive.
Do you think that that's something that could be done in a bipartisan way, Senator Coburn?
Yeah, I do. I think the problem is there's no question China is a currency manipulator, even though we won't say that for political and economic
I'll say
reasons.
it, Senator, I'll say it.
Well, I just said it. Let me finish if I can. But the thing that creates job is capital invested. And we have to give people a reason to invest here. And with the second highest corporate tax rate, with territorial tax rates, what we do is encourage our large corporations to not invest here. So we need to have multiple changes so we can, and I agree with Governor Rendell, we need to reestablish our manufacturing base. We need to reestablish the strength of the middle class. We need to reestablish opportunities for them to get a job that they can actually subsist on, rather than a declining middle class that's based on productive jobs leaving this country. And so free trade is a part of it, but free, fair trade. And China does not fairly trade with us.
Senator's absolutely right about that, and we've got to do something about that, and got to do something about that soon. And that will take both congressional and presidential leadership. But the second thing is, I think on infrastructure investment, you take Jim Inhofe, who is as conservative a member, Senator Coburn's colleague from Oklahoma. He said infrastructure is the second most important thing government can spend money on after military and defense spending, and he's right. And we've got to do it because we're losing our competitive edge. Our ports, our roads, our highways can't keep up with our competitors. And that layers in $8 billion of additional cost to American businesses because our prices are higher because we can't get our goods moved as quickly as other countries. So we've got to do something about it. And by the way, investing in infrastructure creates good jobs on the construction sites and good jobs back at steel and asphalt and concrete plants as well.
And creates consumers and on and on.
Absolutely.
Part of this issue, Senator Coburn, and I'm sure Governor Rendell, you both are intimately familiar with this, is that we are dealing with a multi-decade structure, a trade policy that decades ago incentivized American corporations like Caterpillar and General Electric and others, not because they're bad guys, but because the system was set up to incentivize them to develop outside of our country and in China, which is now where Caterpillar operates. So we now find ourselves in a situation that to protect ourselves from China, we actually have to punish major American multinationals who already tried to adapt to the old model. That is not an easy problem to solve, Senator Coburn. How do you navigate all the money that American corporations have invested overseas, long China effectively, because again the incentive there was to do it a while back, decades ago, with the need now to draw capital into our country, including Caterpillar's and GE's money, as we're now not even in the top 3 when it comes to foreign direct investment. That seems to me to be the biggest hurdle that you face politically when you're trying to deal with trade, is the U.S. multinationals that have already adapted to basically another model.
Well, they're going to adapt, and it'll take some time to change it. But the first thing you do is change the tax structure where you don't penalize them from bringing profits home and investing in manufacturing here. You know, we still have a wonderful technological advantage. And the way to keep that is to change our educational program where we truly incentivize in a way that's measured and has metrics on it, to where we get people going into the areas that we're going to create productivity and going to create other additional jobs through engineering. For example, the amount of engineers that are produced in China versus here each year, it's like 6 to 1 or 7 to 1. So we have to start having policies that will give us the base with which to bring that back. Innovation is still our key. We're still way ahead on a lot of areas, but we have to change the tax structure so that people want to. You know, when we have a 35% corporate tax rate and the average of the rest of the world is 24%, why would you invest here?
Well, not only that, I mean, listen, there's lots of reasons why we have to deal with those incentives. I really can't thank both of you for engaging in what was really a very healthy conversation on this subject.
Dylan,
Governor,
can I say real quickly?
Yep.
What Senator Coburn says about incentivizing American companies to invest in America, engineering, education, that's the agenda we need. We ought to get together and do it. Republican, Democrat, forget about the presidential election. Get it done, and get it done now before it's too late.
I think you two should start it. Maybe you two
Governor Rendell's liable to end up in the Senate. Maybe we can.
No, not me, Senator, not me.
Well, either way, we'll take it. Listen, I think you two just started it, so we're going to hold you to it. Senator Coburn, Governor Rendell, thank you for, again, engaging the conversation and helping us focus on what really matters, which, again, is investment and jobs for America. Thank you, gentlemen. Coming up here on the Dylan Ratigan Show, turning the tide against Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Will today's Pentagon report finally force Congress to end the discrimination that exists